Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 27 based on novel. So let's start. Black light swept across the skies as a black palm-sized steel seal suddenly hovered above Foam Kang's palm. Black Dragon Sky Roaring Seal. The heavenly soul treasure from the auction house was finally revealed by Foam Kang. Seems like he has finally brought it out. A distance away, Mu Lin and the rest watched this scene with solemn expressions. Even though the battle was previously stuck in a stalemate, none of them dared to draw to a conclusion too early. Everyone knew that the battle was not over until Foam Kang used his heavenly soul treasure. However, when they saw Foam Kang take out his heavenly soul treasure, they also felt a complicated feeling surface in their hearts. Even though Lin Dong was merely at the 3 Yuan Nirvana stage, he was able to force Foam Kang, a peak 4 Yuan Nirvana stage practitioner, into such a sorry state and even forced the latter to use his final killing move. Even they themselves were not sure of accomplishing such a feat. This fellow also has the qualifications to possess a Heaven Nirvana seal. This group has truly hidden their strength, Mu Lin bitterly laughed as he said. Even though he had never looked down on Lin Dong's group, he had no choice but to admit that he had underestimated them. If they can defeat the Wind Cloud Empire, they will probably shock the entire core zone. Mu Hanyue's expression was somewhat complicated. To defeat a super empire with the resources of a low-rank empire. In her opinion, this was perhaps a rare occasion that would occur once every 100 years. However, such an event was now playing out clearly in front of her eyes. At this moment, even though she was a famed ice queen, she could not help but exclaim in shock. Even though the Wind Cloud Empire is not considered as an elite amongst the super empires, they are no pushovers. If Lin Dong can defeat them, shocking the entire core region will not be strange at all. Mu Lin lifted his head, staring unblinkingly at the sky as he softly said, "Of course, it still depends on whether he can withstand Foam Kang's next attack. The might of a heavenly soul treasures must not be underestimated." In mid-air, black light slowly spread out. In fact, it seemed like even the dark red night sky was dyed red by this alarming power. It was hard to imagine that this astonishing scene was caused by a mere black palm-sized steel seal. Lin Dong's expression turned solemn the instant that black steel seal appeared. He could feel an extremely dangerous sensation from it. A soul treasure that was worth tens of millions of Nirvana pills. Its powers allowed its user to challenge those who had a higher cultivation stage than himself. Since Foam Kang's strength was already above Lin Dong's, with the addition of this heavenly soul treasure, one could only imagine the perilous situation that Lin Dong was in. Originally, I did not plan to use it. However, you have truly exceeded my expectations. Foam Kang's face was grim. He stared hideously at Lin Dong, with killing intent in his eyes. "Consider it a blessing to die to my heavenly soul treasure." Foam Kang suddenly stepped forward. Evidently, he did not want to give Lin Dong any opportunity to resist. As he clenched his fist, the Yuan power within his body howled forth, continuously pouring into that black steel seal in his palm. Buzz. As Yuan power gushed in, a buzzing sound suddenly erupted from that black steel seal. Meanwhile, the crouching black dragon carved on the black seal slowly opened its tightly shut eyes. Buzz. The instant that dragon opened its eyes, a startling shockwave violently swept forth. Faintly, it seemed like storm clouds had begun gathering in the sky. Black dragon howl. Foam Kang's expression was sinister, sneering as he stared coldly at the now grim-faced Lin Dong. With a sudden change of hand seals, the black dragon's mouth abruptly opened. In the next instant, a vigorous and ancient dragon roar, that seemed to descend from the 9 heavens, erupted. Roar? A black sound wave mixed with a destructive shockwave manically swept forth from the dragon's mouth. As the sound wave swept past, the forest below was completely blown apart. In fact, even the giant trees were shattered into tiny wooden shrapnels before they exploded into dust with a loud bang. The sound wave leveled an entire forest as it swept out. To think that the might of a heavenly soul treasure was actually this terrifying. Lin Dong's pupils shrunk as he watched the black sound wave swarming towards him from every direction. His figure rapidly retreated as his hand once again reached forward. An ancient pitch-black hand materialized and violently swiped at the sound wave. Humph! You overestimate yourself. When he saw this sight, Phong Keng disdainfully sneered. Even though Lin Dong's soul martial arts was powerful, his current attack originated from a heavenly soul treasure and was powered by his 4-yuan nirvana stage strength. How could Lin Dong stop it so easily? Phong Keng's sneer was not without reason. The instant the large ancient hand made contact with the black sound wave, it trembled violently. It seemed as if the black sound wave was so sharp that it was even able to slice apart energy. As the sound wave flashed past, it directly sliced apart the large ancient hand. When he saw his giant hand being sliced apart by the black sound wave, Lin Dong's pupils abruptly shrunk. This was the first time he had seen his great desolate imprisoning heavenly hand being broken so easily. Is a heavenly soul treasure so frighteningly powerful? Swoosh swoosh. The black sound wave easily crushed the giant hand before once again swarming towards Lin Dong. The black sound wave was just like a grim reaper's scythe, completely unstoppable. Lin Dong, let me see what else you can do. When he saw that Lin Dong was about to be engulfed by the black sound wave, Phong Keng could not help but laugh heartily. His laughter was extremely sinister. Huff. Lin Dong took in a deep breath, the black sound wave reflected in his pupils rapidly growing larger. In the next instant, his hand seals gently changed as the rich yuan power surrounding him gradually calmed down and a faint green light slowly seeped out of his body. No matter how you struggle, it's futile. When he saw this, Phong Keng maliciously chuckled. As he clenched his fist, the black sound wave's speed increased as it flew towards Lin Dong. Green heaven materialized dragon nose, scale shield. As the black sound wave flashed by, Lin Dong's eyes suddenly focused as a green glow burst out, transforming into a shield of green scales in front of him. The shield was approximately half a meter wide and there was a faint green dragon symbol floating on it. Meanwhile, a light and peculiar undulation spread outwards from it. This sound wave can slice apart the nirvana golden body of a 4-yuan nirvana stage practitioner. You actually dare defend against it head-on. You must be courting death. When Phong Keng saw Lin Dong chose to defend against the black sound wave instead of dodging, he immediately released a sinister laughter. Clang clang clang. However, just as an evil grin appeared on his face, the black sound wave viciously slammed against the green scale shield. Instantly, countless resplendent sparks erupted. However, contrary to Phong Keng's expectations, the shield was not easily sliced apart. Instead, the Lin Dong's green scale shield managed to withstand the incomparably sharp sound wave. How is this possible? When he saw this sight, not only did Phong Keng's expression change drastically, even Mu Lin and the rest, who had been silently observing, were startled as they exclaimed in shock. All of them could clearly feel just how terrifyingly the black sound wave was. However, they had never imagined that Lin Dong was actually able to withstand it. Kai Kai? As sparks exploded, Lin Dong's body was forcibly pushed backwards. However, since he had the protection of his green scale shield, the black sound wave did not cause any fatal damage to him. After releasing its destructive power, the black sound wave seemingly filled the skies gradually began to fade before they disappeared in front of the green scale shield. When the final bit of black sound wave disappeared, Lin Dong's figure slowly came to a stop. The already battered green scale shield exploded, revealing Lin Dong, who was standing behind it. However, there were now bloody red lines on his arm. Fresh blood flowed down his arm, a pretty alarming sight. Evidently, even though the dragon transformation art was able to allow Lin Dong to block the powerful attack that could kill a 4-yuan nirvana stage practitioner, he still had to pay a price. A heavenly soul treasure is indeed troublesome. Lin Dong swung his blood-soaked arm as an endless cold surged in his eyes. Don't celebrate too early. I will slowly let you taste the might of a heavenly soul treasure. I have said this before, I will make you suffer till you beg for your own death. Therefore, I will not let you die so easily. Phong Keng maliciously chuckled. Promptly, his hand seals suddenly changed as streams of rich yuan power continuously gushed into the black steel seal. Meanwhile, the body of the crouching mini black dragon gradually began to light up, the the black scales on its body becoming clearer and clearer. Black dragon sky roaring seal, dragon soul appear. Surging black light suddenly burst out from within the black steel seal. Amidst the massive black light, the crouching black dragon on the steel seal actually flew out as its mini-body started to swell at an alarming rate. Roar! A deep dragon roar ricocheted across the skies. The dragon roar contained the authority of a true dragon, causing the yuan power in the area to rage vigorously. A black dragon soared into the sky as storm clouds gathered, a world-shaking sight. At this moment, the power of the heavenly soul treasure had been completely displayed. Dark clouds churned in the sky, blotting out the sky. Even the originally dark red sky became overcast at this moment. Boom! The black dragon entered the storm clouds. Occasionally, it was possible to see an enormous body flashing past when the clouds flipped. The icy-cold ancient aura of its seemingly metallic body emitted a ripple that caused one to feel fearful in one's heart. Countless number of eyes contained some shock as they looked at the storm clouds that had gathered in the sky. They could vaguely see an enormous being rolling within. That kind of special ripple and pressure caused even Mu Lin and the other experts, who had stepped into the 4-yuan nirvana stage, to feel some palpitations within their hearts. There is an actual dragon soul within the black dragon sky roaring seal. Mu Hanyu covered her red lips with her hands and exclaimed with shock. It should be an incomplete dragon soul. Mu Lin's expression was solemn as he said, however, it is still extremely powerful. With this heavenly soul treasure, Feng Kang would be hard-pressed to find an opponent who could match him within the 4-yuan nirvana stage. I'm afraid that things are looking bad for Lin Dong this time around. Boom! While the dark clouds in the sky rolled and the black dragon loomed, two fierce beast-like figures had also suddenly collided violently against each other at another corner. A deep explosion sounded. Fierce and ruthless fists violently landed on each other's bodies. The two bodies trembled intensely before they finally flew backwards with a loud bang. Fresh blood scattered, causing the place to appear extremely bloody. Little Flame's foot heavily slammed onto the ground. Numerous cracked lines spread out from under it. The surface of his body vaguely possessed some flickering black glow. Only then did he manage to resolve the enormous force that had invaded into his body. Little Flame took a few hurried breaths. His scarlet eyes was filled with a fierce evilness as he stared at the other party, whose body was similarly covered with traces of blood. He is really not simple. Meng Lai rubbed away the trace of blood from the corner of his mouth. After which, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He parted his mouth in a manner that was filled with hostility, as he stared at Little Flame in front of him. Those eyes on that strong body of his dilated slightly. Clearly, he did not expect that he would be forced by Little Flame till such a miserable state. You might be able to entangle the old me, but Lin Dong appears to be unable to last for long. Meng Lai raised his head, glanced at the sky that was covered with dark clouds and laughed in a sinister manner. From the looks of it, Feng Kang had clearly used the heavenly soul treasure that he had obtained. Since he had even taken this thing out, it was likely that the victor of that battle would have already been determined regardless of how troublesome dealing with Lin Dong was. Lin Dong can be considered as capable since he was able to force Feng Kang to use the heavenly soul treasure. But everything will end now. Little Flame's scarlet eyes glanced at the sky. After which, he saw Lin Dong's somewhat miserable appearance, with blood flowing out from the latter's hands. However, Little Flame did not reveal any panic, something beyond Meng Li's expectation. Instead, he had once again turned around. Those eyes that were staring at him were increasingly bloodthirsty. Big brother will not lose this easily. Little Flame's voice was a little hoarse. However, there was a conviction in his tone that cannot be described by words. A fool who attempts to deceive himself and others. Meng Lai laughed furiously. My task is to finish you off. Little Flame leaned his body slightly forward. A monstrous killing intent surged out, appearing just like a prehistoric wild beast that was about to attack. Finish me off? I will let you witness the strongest martial arts within my wind cloud empire. Meng Lai laughed towards the sky. Immediately, he licked the blood on his face. The cruelty and fierceness in his eyes instantly became extremely dense. He took a step forward and changed the seal formed by his hand. An extremely frightening fluctuation was suddenly unleashed from within his body. Emperor right! A low and deep roar that was permeated with a dense desire to kill was emitted from within Meng Lai's throat. That fluctuation became even more intense as the ground subsequently shook once again. The momentum was several times stronger when compared to before. Surging yuan power wrapped around Meng Lai's body. While his hand seal changed, numerous strange deep yellow-colored vapor began to suddenly seep out from underground. After which, it twined upwards, followed his skin and entered his body. Creak! Meng Lai's body suddenly began to swell. His muscles were strengthened while his veins pulsed, appearing just like a dragon. Within a short instant, not only had Meng Lai's body swelled to double his size but even his aura had become exceptionally powerful. This is my true fighting strength. Next, I will break every bone in your body. Meng Lai raised his head and parted his mouth to give Little Flame a cruel smile. His foot suddenly stepped forward and his body disappeared at that instant. When it next appeared, his body was already in front of Little Flame. Immediately, it gathered a fist wind that contained a terrifying strength as it directly tore through the air and ruthlessly smashed towards Little Flame's heart. Boom! Little Flame's arms once again transformed into tiger claws as they crossed each other in front of him. He forcefully received this fierce punch from Meng Lai. After which, his body flew backwards. A gigantic tree was blasted into dust in the process. Swoosh! Having gained the upper hand with the single punch, Meng Lai did not pause even a little. His body rushed out before another heavy punch, that could seriously injure a 4-yuan Nirvana expert, erupted from him. Boom! The black-colored tiger claw was extended out. It forcefully grabbed the metallic punch that had erupted. Little Flame's eyes were scarlet as his throat suddenly emitted a tiger roar. His enormous body also began to reveal a drastic change. Within a short instant, it had transformed into a fighting machine with a human body and a tiger head. You are actually a demonic beast. This scene directly caused Meng Lai's expression to abruptly change. Only at this moment did he understand why Little Flame's physical body was actually this frighteningly strong. Roar? The tiger roar shakes the forest. After releasing his beast form, Little Flame's fighting strength had clearly soared at a shocking rate. His strength, speed, reaction etc. were all comparable to Meng Lai after the latter had used the Emperor Right. The strength surged and churned within Little Flame's body. He clenched his tiger claw tightly and smashed it out with a lightning speed. The wild and violent sharp fist wind directly collided with Meng Lai's attack. Boom boom boom. A circular shocking wind swept apart and those surrounding gigantic trees burst apart upon contact. The two of them had currently unleashed their fighting strength to the limit. The bloodiness from the pure physical fight was extremely thrilling for anyone watching it. Rumble. The dark clouds churned in the sky. A paleness gradually surfaced on Feng Kang's face upon seeing this. However, there was an even greater amount of wild and savage expression. He was aware that he would definitely be able to end this battle that had frustrated him, with this attack. Kill! Feng Kang's finger suddenly pointed towards Lin Dong. An icy cold cry that caused the surrounding temperature to fall was suddenly emitted. Bang! The dark clouds shook when this killing cry sounded. An incredibly large black shadow finally rushed out violently as an enormous black dragon extended its icy cool ancient metallic body. It appeared in front of everyone's eyes in a manner that shocked one's eyes. The air had crumbled and exploded under the roar of the dragon. Those forests below directly crumbled at this moment. An enormous pit had appeared within the short blink of an eye. Everyone's faces were completely pale in the face of the black dragon's attack. This kind of strength was not something that they, who were 3 or 4 yuan Nirvana stage experts, could endure. Crack! The clothes on Lin Dong's body were ripped by the frightening wind pressure that was transmitted across space. Even with his powerful physical body, Lin Dong still felt a kind of piercing pain. He was aware that this attack by Feng Kang was truly a lethal one. Huff! A deep breath followed Lin Dong's throat as it was exhaled. Soon after, his eyes were slowly shut in front of the many stunned gazes. In the face of this shocking attack by Feng Kang, the current Lin Dong had actually gave up all forms of defense. That strength! While everyone was at a loss because of his action, Lin Dong's mind was scanning over the interior of his body with lightning-like speed. It appeared as though he was searching for something. Lin Dong's mind flashed through his body like a thunderbolt. Finally, it entered his dantian. A cluster of green-colored glow appeared. Within that green glow was a creeping green dragon. It meandered and held its body close together. A kind of shock pressure spread from it. This was the heavenly dragon aura that Qingji had left in his body back then. However, Lin Dong was only able to absorb this kind of frightening heavenly dragon aura a little at a time, and he was unable to refine it. However, he currently needed to activate some of this strength now. Although he would have to pay a price, he remained unfazed. I need you. Lin Dong's mind appeared to have transformed into an invisible large hand as it grabbed onto the green light. Sizzle. Those tightly shut eyes of Lin Dong were suddenly opened at this moment. After which, he spread his hands and roared towards the sky. Roar? The thing that was emitted from Lin Dong's mouth was not just a mere roar. Instead, it was a clear dragon's roar. Under this dragon roar, that black dragon, which had rushed over, actually trembled violently. However, those dragon eyes that were without any intelligence, also revealed a terror that originated from deep within its soul. You will not be able to take my life. Lin Dong laughed out loud towards the sky as he seemed a little maniacal. Green-colored glow swept out from his body in all directions before finally transforming into an illusionary large green-colored dragon in front of countless number of gazes. This is a dragon's soul. Mu Lin and the rest were stunned as they watched the enormous green-colored dragon that had appeared. Regardless of whether one looked at it from its aura or the ripple that was formed, this green dragon definitely surpassed the black dragon. Could it be that this Lin Dong actually possessed a real dragon soul? Bang! The large green dragon wrapped around Lin Dong's body before shooting out in front of the countless number of shocked and horrified eyes. Finally, it directly collided violently with the black dragon under these countless pairs of shocked eyes. This collision was truly earth-shaking. The green light and the black glow spread over the sky in a crazy and wild fashion. Each of them occupied half of the sky. That terrifying ripple caused countless number of people to turn pale in dismay. The large green-colored dragon tore through the distant air. One could vaguely see Lin Dong's body within the dense green light. Fresh blood continuously flowed out from his body. Some injuries had appeared on that strong body which he was proud of. This was not as a result of an external force, instead it was the strong burden brought about by the eruption of the heavenly dragon aura within his body, something which was beyond what his physical body could handle. That heavenly dragon aura that Qingji had left behind within Lin Dong's body was extremely powerful. However, it was not a strength that the current Lin Dong was able to easily control. Even just by activating a portion of the power, it was still able to cause that physical body of Lin Dong, which was considered strong, to wound up with some injuries. However, Lin Dong was unfazed despite fresh blood flowing down his body. There was a craziness that would give anyone some palpitations flickering within both of his eyes. Go! A deep cry was suddenly emitted from Lin Dong's mouth. That green dragon whizzed and threateningly collided with the black dragon in a violent fashion. Boom! All the sound in this entire place appeared to have been annihilated the moment the collision occurred. Even time itself appeared to have slowed. The green and black light appeared to be two bright suns as an intense glare erupted in the sky. Following which, there was a frightening ripple with an indescribable violence and wildness. That ripple turned into a hurricane and swept down from the sky. The green dragon and black dragon crazily bit at each other. Their clash was earth-shaking. Feng Kang's expression was pale as he looked at the green dragon and black dragon that bit at one another in the sky a short distance away. When he saw this tactic of Lin Dong, even he could not help but reveal a shock within his eyes. With his 4-yuan nirvana stage strength, the great strength that was formed when activating the heavenly soul treasure would cause even those like Mu Lin and the rest, who did not have any special technique, to be seriously injured. However, this kind of attack was still being completely blocked by Lin Dong. Originally, he thought that the victor would be determined once he used his heavenly soul treasure. However, the situation in front of him caused a chillness to surge up his heart. Feng Kang really could not imagine how Lin Dong, who only possessed the strength of a 3-yuan nirvana stage, could actually have such a terrifying combat strength. Even if he had obtained one of the inheritance of the 4 great mysterious sects, it was impossible for him to be so hard to deal with. Bang! 2 figures that were covered with a stench of blood were ruthlessly clashing against each other within the forest. That fierce and uncontrolled strength shook the ground, forming numerous gullies in the process. Powerful wind erupted. Even the surrounding tall trees were turned into clusters of wooden chips. A frightening energy fluctuation spread as the 2 figures flew back by hundreds of feet in a miserable fashion. After which, they charged forward once again with scarlet eyes. Killing intent permeated their bodies. Fresh blood scattered and the ground was dyed by a blood-red color. The fight between these 2 could truly be considered a tragic one. This was an extremely stunning and bloody fight. The green dragon and black dragon continuously unleashed waves after waves of shocking energy ripples, and they blotted out the sky. Even the dark clouds in the sky was forcefully torn apart at this moment. The many pairs of eyes that had gathered around this place were currently in a completely stunned state. Even those people like Mu Lin had a graveness that seemed to have solidified on their faces. The green and black glow continuously spread. At the same time, a raving expression was gradually surfacing from deep within the eyes of Lin Dong, who was within the green dragon. Roar! A low and deep roar was abruptly released from Lin Dong's throat. His skin was actually cracked, forming numerous wounds, while fresh blood flowed out from it. At the same time, waves of shocking green light came gushing out. Break! That mad expression filled Lin Dong's eyes. His hand was clenched into a fist as he launched it violently. At the same time, the enormous claw of the large green-colored dragon that covered his body also erupted out at this moment. Green light agglomerated on the dragon claw, penetrated through the air and smashed onto the black dragon's head within lightning-like speed. Boom! A frightening energy ripple exploded over the head of the black dragon. It immediately seemed to have sparked a chain reaction. From its head to its tail, the body of the black dragon began to continuously explode. That dense black glow also swiftly became pale. Explode! The green-colored dragon claw clenched violently before that black dragon's head was forcefully crushed to the point where it burst apart. A horrified expression surged into all the eyes in the sky the moment the explosion occurred. The black dragon soul that was formed when Feng Kang activated the heavenly soul treasure was actually forcefully torn apart by Lin Dong. Grug! Feng Kang, who had a mental connection with the black dragon, spat out a mouthful of blood when the latter exploded before his aura instantly turned weary. Clearly, he was seriously implicated by the black dragon's destruction. How is this possible? Feng Kang was still unable to recover after spitting out fresh blood. He looked at the black dragon soul, which had exploded in midair with disbelief, as he screeched. Howl! The green glow on the flashed in the sky just when he let out a roar. A figure that was covered by fresh blood gradually rushed out from the body of the green dragon, which was gradually becoming paler. With a flash, that figure had appeared in front of Feng Kang. Feng Kang's expression changed upon seeing the blood-covered figure, who was charging over, as he hurriedly pulled back. While he did so, a blood-covered hand was extended out with lightning-like speed and grabbed that palm-sized black-colored metal seal. Lin Dong was actually thinking of snatching this troublesome heavenly soul treasure from Feng Kang's hands. Fool, I have already planted a blood seal within this treasure. You won't be able to snatch it just because you wish to. Feng Kang immediately cried out furiously upon seeing this scene. The seal on his hand changed as he maneuvered the black dragon sky-roaring seal to escape from Lin Dong's hand. If you have planted a blood seal, all I need to do is to remove it. Lin Dong emitted a cold laughter. He looked at the wildly struggling black seal in his hands, which was faintly showing signs of unleashing an extremely sharp black-colored sonic wave. His eyes turned chilly as that stone talisman in his hand suddenly unleashed a white glow. The white glow gushed out from Lin Dong's palm and directly covered the black dragon sky-roaring seal. When the white light covered it, Phong Kang suddenly sensed that the thread of connection he had with the soul treasure had actually been forcefully cut off. How is this possible? Phong Kang's eyes suddenly shrunk. A shock surged up his heart. He had already planted a blood seal on the heavenly soul treasure, and even an expert who was one level higher than him would have difficulty removing it. Therefore, how did Lin Dong manage to do it? Haha, thanks for your gift. I will be keeping this 30 million Nirvana pills treasure. The white light that covered the black-colored metal seal disappeared in a flash. Lin Dong could not resist laughing out heartily. This item had finally landed in his hands. Numerous expressions in the mid-air were undergoing drastic changes. The eyelids of Mu Lin and the others began to twitch intensely. Lin Dong had actually directly snatched the heavenly soul treasure from Phong Kang's hands. Gurk! Phong Kang, who was already seriously injured, ended up hurting himself due to anger when he heard Lin Dong's hearty laughter. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. His eyes were vicious as he stared at Lin Dong. However, his body suddenly pulled back. He did not know just what method Lin Dong had used to snatch his heavenly soul treasure. However, now that he had lost the heavenly soul treasure, it was extremely disadvantageous to him if this battle was to drag on. You wish to leave? Hand over your Nirvana seal. The chillness in Lin Dong's eyes became even denser as he watched Phong Kang's withdrawing body. He strided forward and his body rushed out. Within a flash, he had appeared in front of Phong Kang. The glow in his palm agglomerated. He maneuvered the similarly nearly exhausted Yuan power in his body. After which, a finger of his swelled, transforming into a green-colored dragon finger. Green dragon finger. The dragon finger penetrated through the space. It carried a sharp aura as it ruthlessly rushed towards Phong Kang in front of numerous shaken eyes with a shocking speed. Phong Kang's expression changed drastically as he watched the dragon finger rushing over. Currently, he was already at his limit after the bitter battle earlier, and his fighting strength was no longer the same as before. At this moment, all he could do was to squeeze the remaining Yuan power from his body. A gold-colored light circle began to spread. Swoosh! The dragon finger rushed out and instantly landed on the gold-colored light circle. A ripple began to wildly churn on the light circle. It's over! A dense chillness surged within Lin Dong's eyes. The corner of his mouth was slowly lifted. Buzz! The dragon finger swiftly trembled. With a buzz sound, that final layer of golden circle that was protecting him burst apart, forming numerous cracks. Crack! A slight sound appeared. Phong Kang's eyes shrunk to the size of a pinhole at this moment. Traces of horror finally climbed out from deep within his eyes. This video will end here.